Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to look at Ambush Bug Stocking Stuffer, a one-shot from DC Comics. This came out shortly after the first four-issue miniseries. Even though it says 1986, this came out, or at least the copyright is 1985. I think this came out around the Christmas season in 1985. And the same creative team, Keith Giffen plotting and penciling, Robert Loren Fleming filling up the balloons with words, and Bob Oxner on inks. So very typical Ambush Bug cover, very irreverent. And this beginning is so odd. So once again, it's Francis the Horse Clopalong presents Ambush Bug, and I knew I should have taken that left Twain back in Albuquerque from the original story by Joseph Conrad. And even though Ambush Bug looks like he's happily running to the beach, he's got a little flotation device on. He's got an umbrella, a towel, and but the captions are saying, "Some nights the dream comes on strong, and I'm back there again, back in the sand, back in that heat." It seems almost sorry, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's apocalypse now. It was time for me to face the horrors of Vietnam, and the whole time, Ambush Bug's going, "Yahoo, yippee!" It's so crazy, it's bizarre. And Ambush Bug keeps on running until finally he's never finding the shoreline, and he's getting weaker and weaker, and finally he collapses. He realizes that this ain't Pismo Beach, so he looks at his map, and he's like, "This is Dien Bien Phu in Vietnam." And then we see this guy, his name is Hucka. And then we see this guy in the foreground. I don't know who the hell that is. So then Ambush Bug leaves his flotation device behind. So this Hucka creature is like, "Hucka, friend?" And the flotation device is like, "Keep your filthy little hands to yourself." So Ambush Bug is filled with fear until he realizes that the Vietnam War ended in 1975. But he says, "You know what? America lost the war, but maybe I can do what thousands of soldiers could do. Maybe I could win the Vietnam War." And so we see Hucka walking away from the flotation device, and all of a sudden, this projectile blows him up real good. Once again, look at this amazing color in this panel for a newsprint comic. And Hucka falls into this pit. And it turns out Ambush Bug is in a tank. And he's the one who shot Hucka. And then he gets out of his tank, and look at this amazing, perfect homage to Joe Kubert. Like almost every other Sergeant Rock cover was this, where Sergeant Rock unsuspectingly is walking into an enemy trap. And then there's all these other Huckas, and they have weapons. They're just cork guns, though. And then the first Hucka shows up, and Robert Loren Fleming starts talking to him. He says, "Oh, I've changed your speech pattern. You're talking normal now. Keith Giffen, the artist, he just erased your friends. Bob Oxner has just surrounded you with airless space with his paint, with his brush." And so he starts blowing up, because there's no atmosphere. And then we see Ambush Bug landing on this distended Hucka, and he explodes. And then this guy pops in, Dirk Mellon of the Hucka Anti-Defamation League, basically warning them to lay off the Hucka. So we hear the voice off panel saying, Okay, we'll try a different approach. 1001 uses for a dead hukka, and he's using him as a giant fly swatter. And then we see poor hukka. I don't know how he got in this bathroom, but he's like, oh, I'll get all those humans. They killed my friends. God damn it. And then we see a pencil and pen and brush turn him into ambush bug. And then he pops out of existence. And now the camera pulls back. We see the page that we just saw on the drawing board, and it's ambush bug. He is basically, doing all these shenanigans. There's a poster of Garfield on the wall. I don't get this inside joke, but there's all these notes about call Roy. Damn it, call Roy already. And cancel Atari Force. So it turns out that Hukka character is from Atari Force. I never read that comic. But it was, people kind of look back at it fondly because it has Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art. But it was just a joke when it came out. I didn't know anybody who read Atari Force. It was just so dumb. Who knows? Maybe it's good, though. Maybe I should read them. And so now we start the main story, Night of the Living Doll. We see Ambush Bug at his office. It's Christmas time, so he's got the Yule log on TV. He's sewing up a turkey. He's got a surgical mask on to do it. But he still misses Cheeks. And he has a flashback, which never really happened. He's like, Cheeks, let go of that bomb. And there's planes. This is a running gag in here that's not that funny. Where, the flashback is always kind of misty. So Ambush Bug's always like coughing. He's like, goddamn flashback. These guys ring their doorbell and they're jovial witnesses. I guess it's a pun on Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't quite get this gag. It's kind of dumb. These two guys, they basically bury Ambush Bug in their religious pamphlets. And then they take all of Ambush Bug's presents. Because Ambush Bug bought a bunch of presents for Cheeks in absentia. They say, oh, this should cover the cost. They leave, and Ambush Bug climbs out of this pile of pamphlets. Now we see a toy store not far away. Toys ain't cheap. And the store owner, Luigi, there's two cops who are listening to his story. He says, I heard this chewing noise in the back storeroom. He speaks in this very blatant Italian accent. Hey, Luigi, I'm saying to myself, what are you, nuts? But then I see you with my own eyes. See, I can do that accent because I'm half Italian. Even the last episode, I did the 70s jive talk. But I hope I'm forgiven for that. So they go to the storeroom and all the dolls are cannibalized. There's big chunks taken out of them. So Luigi has no idea what's going on. Now we go to a graveyard, the Barnes Memorial Cemetery. And I'm wondering, is this a reference to Bucky Barnes? Because they had that flashback that didn't really make much sense unless it was a reference to Bucky Barnes. He's at Cheeks' grave, and he's dug up Cheeks' grave. And his coffin is missing. Look at that great panel there. That's a really amazing, really dynamic. Just like last issue, it seems like his Jose Munoz. I'm sorry, his Carlos Sampaio. Wait a second. You guys, I'm so sorry. Last episode, I just realized that I meant to say Jose Munoz. He's the artist of Sinner. And Sampaio is the writer. So please forgive me. I meant to say Jose Munoz the whole time. I realized I was saying Sampaio. So this Jose Munoz adoration is intensifying. Just like, look at that shading on his shirt. So we see the coroner. He's got some of the dolls. He says, yeah, they've been bitten. It says back at the store, and we hear all of these toys talking. The duck goes quack. Clank, 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 B is for boy. But then We cut away to How to Write Comic Books, Part 12. Subtext made simple. This is very odd. It's basically this kind of parable about this guy. He gets murdered by a mugger, but then he plea bargains down to robbery and basically gets sent to a low-level, a minimum security prison for a few years. Everyone's happy. The judge is happy. The lawyer's happy, except for the victim. He's dead. But then this is what... I fucking love this. Look at this amazing Mr. A parody. He even does the lettering badly. Just like Ditko used to do. Mr. Bug. So remember, B is B and I before E, except after C, and T for two for you and me. Because Mr. A would always say A is A. And, oh man, that's amazing. The thing is, I doubt many DC readers at the time, mainstream readers, even knew this reference. Because Mr. A was almost like pretty much an underground comic, basically. Here's another little parody. Tales so scary, you'll break all your furniture. I love that title. We have the little horror host here. Cheeks is there. And Jerry Mathers is the cleaver. A little callback. Now, Ambush Bug, we cut back to him. He's in a movie theater watching a zombie marathon. And I guess his research, because he suspects something's up. Look at this guy's face here. Now we see another toy store. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Luigi's toy store. And they're carrying him away in a straitjacket. Because he's like... The toys are coming back to life. You gotta believe me. And they think he's crazy. Now we see the return of Cheeks, the toy wonder. Wait a second. Did I skip a page? Hold on. I think I might have. Nope, I did not. Oh, I'm still embarrassed about that whole Munoz and Pollo thing. So here he comes, that cute little cut-up called Cheeks, the toy wonder. His little theme song. And we see that Cheeks is, he's the perpetrator of these doll mutilations. He's hungry again, though. But a comic book dropped in his head. And it just happens to be a Brother Power the Geek. Pretty much the world's biggest doll. And Cheeks heads out to try to find him so he can eat him. This just totally looks like a different artist. I looked in the Grand Comic database and I'm hoping that they would ID this. But then again, Keith Giffen's a very good mimic. But a very weird panel compared to everything else around it. Next, we have a parody of Sugar and Spike. And he totally does this bizarro take on it, where instead of their nonsense word balloons then being translated into English, he does the opposite. And then the translations, or the gobbledygook, just become like Dizzy Gillespie, Yvonne Goolagong. It's just ridiculous. So I guess somebody took Sugar's dolly and carried it into the bushes. We hear crunching and eating sounds. And then we see Pop, and we just see we don't see it, but behind the bush, Cheeks, what have you done? Just look at you. Cheeks is saying sorry. Well, that's just not good enough. What am I supposed to tell those children out there? And then, guys, I don't even understand this part here. Now we see two different word balloons. We have found missing alien child, Captain. Earth girl. Mistook it for doll. Ooh, doll, yum. Excellent, Mr. Spock. Now we can return the tiny waif to her grieving parents. Beam us up, Scotty. And then to make it even weirder, they cut away, and it's almost as if the guys forgot the whole plot. Because now we cut away to a newscaster talking about the cannibalistic dolls terrorizing the city. And this guy says that this is bad for last-minute shoppers, including me. I have 7 daughters, and my wife died, and I haven't bought him any Christmas presents. So he's talking to the guy down at the store. This guy, check trousers. And he's like basically saying, hey, would you pick me up some dolls down there for my daughters? Look at this crazy abstraction of his face here. Like, oh man, that's totally Munoz. Now we cut away to the graveyard, and Johnny DC's there. And she's with this guy named Crepex, or Crepex. So I don't know if that's a shout out to Guido Crepex. Probably another foreign artist that Keith Giffen was cribbing from. For some reason, she's digging up all of the graves of all the dead DC heroes to make sure they're dead. I guess just to check them off the ledger. I don't know. It's this page is really weird. And they find Cheek's grave. Now, Ambush Bug is calling up every superhero can think of. Titan's Tower, Fortress of Solitude, the Batcave, even the Legion of Superheroes clubhouse, and even the Hucka. And the note tells us, Julia Schwartz says, the Hucka is dead, which is why he won't answer his phone. He calls up the swamp to ask Swamp Thing. Gem World, he asks for Amethyst. And then he even calls the Haunted Tank in the 1940s. Bizarro World. So he's kind of pissed off. Once again, he has another flashback that probably didn't happen. And he coughs because of the mist of flashback. Now we see a woman bringing Christmas presents home for her children. And she takes a shortcut through an alley. But it was a mistake. She's attacked. Well, I should say her Christmas present, her teddy bear is attacked. And we hear crunch, crunch, crunch. And then the captions tell us her fate. Her husband divorced her after this. Her children hated her. Now here comes Cheeks with his little theme song again. Cheeks is out wandering looking for Brother Power. And then all the other kind of cannibal toys, zombie toys, come up and bring him a doll to eat. And they say, you are the greatest living doll. You are our king. And, of course, he eats it. So now we see some white panels yawn. Yeah, Julie, I don't mind telling you. I'm glad this issue is over. Looking back at it, though, I think we did a pretty fine piece of work. Pretty fine. What? 40 pages? And then it gets really fucking weird. So we only had 24 pages, which is the size of a normal comic book. The gag here is that, you know, he thought it was over. Julie Schwartz is like, no, it's a 40-page special. And then we see this little thing, the Friendly Island of Japan. As if it's like some kind of film strip. And they start talking about Japanese cartoonists and how some of the cartoonists escape the pressures of deadlines by leaping from the precipice near Chulin. And now we see the manga version of Ambush Bug, and here's the manga version of Julie Schwartz. And he's saying, you've got to make it 40 pages, but I can't possibly. I love this Julie Schwartz. Now we cut away to that Peabody guy again. Once again, planning ways to sell this issue more, or to increase the sales. Now we have Ambush Bug presents Season's Greetings from Around the World and Beyond. So this is kind of a retread of that strip from number 3 of the miniseries. We have England, France. So I guess maybe this is trying to be Judge Dredd. Obviously Mobius. Now this is weird. And I think I caught Keith Giffen in a blunder. It says Spain. And this seems very obviously like he's doing El Borba by Charles Burns, which is an American guy, but it was reprinted in Europe in a bunch of places. So I wonder if Keith Giffen got a Spanish magazine, like their version of Heavy Metal or something, and saw El Borba and was like, oh, this is what Spanish art looks like. I could be wrong, But that is totally Al Borba. That's Charles Burns he's trying to do. And he does a damn good job. We see Japan again, of course. And the Soviet Union is just white, and we hear the muffled cry of an artist. And then Krypton, which is just a shredded banner. Next, we have the first annual Fanboy Press popularity poll. So this is you're supposed to vote. And next we have, another non sequitur. Beware Santa. And making Santa like this cool superhero. I've seen this so many times. Now this is weird. So this 2-page comic is making fun of Saturday morning TV, how all the cartoons around in the 80s were just basically extended commercials for toy lines. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, he's doing such a good Ernie Colon impersonation. It turns out at the end of it, Ambushbug tells us, oh, this was written and drawn by Ernie Colon. So these 2 pages, that's the dealio. This is pretty dead on. Pretty crazy, too. Making fun of super sweet breakfast cereals and just all the typical Saturday morning stuff. So, yeah, this issue is very weird. So now for some reason, Ambushbug has a little barbecue stand, hot dolls and buns, and he's burning dolls? I don't understand. He has another flashback to when Cheeks became Dark Cheeks. A dumb Dark Phoenix, parody. The Guardian Angel guy shows up again. And Ambushbug says, I can't find Cheeks anywhere. And this note appears. He's hiding in the bushes on page 19, you jerk. Remember that when Sugar and Spike were hanging out near those bushes? And I said, what happened? So even that was part of the deal. Keith Giffen planned this, even though it's still crazy. So he says, I'll just go back to page 19. Johnny DC catches wind of this. And she says, that breaks every rule of continuity. Are you ready for the crisis on the only Earth we're allowed to use? Because, after Crisis on Infinite Earths, there's only one Earth. And so now, I guess Ambushbug has collected Cheeks, and we see him tied up on a bed saying, why you do this to me, Daddy? Ambushbug says, I know who you are. And Cheeks says, your mother darn socks in hell, which is a totally obscure reference to that Exorcist parody in SNL when Richard Pryor was on. Your mother sucks cock in hell, and that was the TV version. And Ambushbug is saying, I love you, Cheeks. You got to fight this. And then Cheeks pukes up sawdust on him. And so then Ambushbug takes out the big guns. He says, you asked for it, Satan. He puts a TV in front of him and makes him watch Gilligan's Island over and over. And he's like, hey. Now Johnny DC shows up and she says, close it down, guys. Put the pencil down, Giffen. We're shutting this comic down. And she tells Ambushbug, she's like, you haven't even been following the script. Right after the street vendor scene, you were supposed to go to Santa's workshop. This time, do it right. And don't have any fun either. So she says, take out this cheesy office set. So we see the backdrop go up and put in the Santa's workshop one. But Ambushbug's like, oh, she forgot to leave me the plot. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Luckily, Robert Lauren Fleming is kind of yelling directions down to him. Some goofy slapstick humor. Another flashback joke. And Ambushbug is like fed up. I'm sorry, let me go back a little. He basically is like, he's like, fuck you guys, Giffen and Fleming. Would that amuse you if I fell out of an airplane? I'm just your like fucking toy. And then they make him fall out of an airplane as if it's a flashback. And then they pop him in front of his office, which is burning down. And he's like, they burned my building down. This is kind of weird. It's almost like existential, where I'm sure people have said this about God when they've had bad fortune, but he's talking about Fleming and Giffen. And he's like, man, you think you know people, you work with them day in, day out. I thought the world of those guys. But I got to realize Giffen and Fleming are just stinkers. And I'm not gonna let them spoil my Christmas. And all of a sudden, out of the sky, a cheeks that's well and not possessed by Satan, and a zombie falls into the snow, and Ambushbug's overjoyed. Turns out Santa Claus dropped a doll. Now we see a bunch of these, zombie toys still running around, and Johnny DC shows up and says, "You're no longer part of continuity. Get the fuck out of here." And now we have a little teaser for next miniseries, where we see, "Dear alumnus, you're cordially invited to a reunion of the class of '82, Arkham Asylum." And it's the Joker. And he's like, "Oh, it'll be so nice to reacquaint myself with some of my old classmates, particularly Erwin Schwab, Ambushbug. I've got a score to settle with him." And so it leaves us on this cliffhanger. Stay tuned. Same buggy format. Same buggy comic. That's, you can really see the oxymoron here. And then it says the true meaning of Christmas. And it's kind of weird, like, he's talking about the love between Ambushbug and Cheeks. And it actually kind of sounds sweet. Like, Ambushbug does have this insane love of Cheeks that's almost... It's kind of sweet. So everything's happy in the end. We got a letter page reviewing the 4-issue miniseries. And I thought this was interesting. Matt Fiesel wrote in. So he was already a mini-comic guy. And but that makes sense that a weird mini-comic guy like that would like this comic. This comic's bizarro. It's very strange. So there you go, guys. Ambushbug Stocking Stuffer #1. Well, there'd be no other ones. And next time, we'll look at the next mini-series, which comes out pretty soon after this. So hope you guys enjoyed looking at this. Hope you're not getting tired of Ambushbug, because we still got 2 more videos after this. And thanks for watching. And I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.